I'm 78 years old now. I say that out loud sometimes just to hear how it sounds, because it still surprises me that I made it this far, carrying a life that never quite fit me. I wake up early, even though I don't need to. My body does it on its own. The house is quiet in a way that feels permanent, like it's done expecting anyone else to walk through the door. Most mornings, I sit at the kitchen table with a cup of coffee and look at my hands. They're spotted and stiff. These are the same hands that built everything I was supposed to want. I used to believe that if you kept moving, if you kept building, the wanting would eventually catch up. I thought desire was something that arrived later, like a reward. I didn't realize that some lives get assembled without ever asking the person living them. When I was younger, people called me steady, dependable. That was meant as a compliment. I took it as one. I was good at showing up. I was good at doing what was needed. Somewhere along the way, I confused being useful with being alive. In my 20s, I didn't feel lost. That's important to say. I felt responsible. My father had worked himself into an early grave, and my mother was tired in a way that sleep never fixed. I told myself I wouldn't put anyone through that kind of uncertainty. So, when an opportunity came along that looked solid, I took it without much thought. It was an office job, nothing glamorous, decent pay, clear ladder. People older than me nodded approvingly when I said yes. That mattered more to me than I want to admit. Their approval felt like proof I was doing it right. I married young, too. She was kind, sensible. We looked good together in photographs. We wanted the same things, or at least we said we did. A house, stability, children someday. We didn't talk much about how we wanted to feel. That wasn't something anyone asked back then. The early years weren't bad. That's another thing people don't understand when I try to explain this now. There was no single mistake, no dramatic wrong turn, just a long series of reasonable decisions that stacked up quietly. We bought a house that was bigger than we needed because it seemed like the next step. I worked longer hours because that's what advancement required. I told myself I'd slow down once we were comfortable. Comfortable kept moving further away. Our children came along, one after the other. I loved them. I still do. But love doesn't automatically make you present. I was there in the ways that could be measured. School fees paid, food on the table, vacations planned once a year, always rushed, always ending with me checking my watch. I missed things I didn't even know I was missing. First words, small disappointments, the ordinary texture of their days. I told myself they wouldn't remember anyway. I was wrong. My wife and I started speaking in logistics. Who would pick up groceries? Who would call the plumber? Conversations about feelings felt inefficient. We were tired. We were always tired. I thought that was just adulthood. There were moments, small ones, when something inside me stirred. Sitting in traffic with the radio off, wondering how I got there. Watching a man play guitar on a street corner and feeling an ache I couldn't name. I used to love music. I used to draw. I told myself those were childish things, hobbies, not for a man with responsibilities. Every decade felt like a variation of the one before it. Promotions came, titles changed. My name on the door got a little bigger. People asked me for advice. I gave it confidently, even when I didn't recognize myself in the mirror anymore. The cost didn't arrive all at once. It showed up in pieces. A short temper at dinner, forgetting anniversaries, feeling relieved when a meeting ran late because it meant I didn't have to go home yet. That one scared me, but I didn't look at it for long. Friends drifted away. Some moved, some changed. I told myself I didn't have time for friendships anymore. The truth was, I didn't have the energy to explain myself. It was easier to keep things professional, surface level, clean. By my 50s, the house was paid off. The kids were grown. On paper, I had done everything right. That's when the silence really started to press in. My wife and I sat across from each other most evenings, the television filling the space where conversation used to be. We knew each other's routines better than each other's thoughts. I don't blame her. I trained her to expect very little from me beyond consistency. I remember one night she asked almost casually, "Are you happy?" I laughed, because it seemed like a strange question after all that time. I said, "Of course, we're lucky." She nodded. We never talked about it again. The turning point came later than I wish it had. It wasn't dramatic, no shouting, no collapse. She got sick. It was the kind of illness that moves slowly, giving you time to adjust and not adjust at the same time. I sat beside her in hospital rooms and realized I didn't know how to talk to her about fear, or regret, or anything real. We had spent decades avoiding those words, and now they were all that mattered. She died quietly. I held her hand. I told her I loved her, and I meant it. But there were so many other things I wanted to say, and no language left to say them in. After the funeral, people praised me for being strong. I nodded and accepted it like another title. At night, the house echoed in a way that made my chest hurt. Every room held a version of us that would never exist again. Retirement came not long after. I had imagined it would feel like freedom. Instead, it felt like being handed time with no instructions. The structure I had hidden inside for decades disappeared overnight. Days stretched. Mornings blurred into afternoons. I tried to fill the hours with projects, fixing things that didn't need fixing, sorting old papers, cleaning out drawers full of other people's expectations. That's when it finally became clear. Without the job, without the roles, there wasn't much left that felt like me. I had spent 50 years becoming someone useful, not someone true. The children visited when they could. They were kind, busy. Their lives were full in ways mine no longer was. I listened more than I spoke. Sometimes I wanted to tell them I was sorry, not for anything specific, just sorry. There are things that can't be fixed now, time I can't reclaim, conversations that ended before they ever started, versions of myself that never got a chance to exist. I don't say this with bitterness. Mostly it's a quiet sadness, like realizing you've been living in the wrong house for decades and only noticing once you're too tired to move. If you're listening to this, I don't want to scare you, and I don't want to tell you what to do. I just want you to understand that a life can be built correctly and still be wrong for the person living it. Pay attention to the small discomforts, the little aches you keep dismissing. They don't go away on their own. They grow patient. They wait. I assumed there would always be more time, more energy, another season to figure it out. Time, it turns out, doesn't negotiate. Now, in the evenings, I sit by the window and watch the light change. I try to be present with what's left. Some days I manage it, some days I don't. This is the life I built. I carry it with me, even now. All I can do is hold it gently and tell the truth about it before it's gone.